Hello everyone, welcome to section 3 on generative AI learning series. In this section, we'll see how to generate structured output using OpenAI API. The problem we are trying to solve with structured output is for getting consistently structured data like JSON from LLM require complex prompt engineering. For example, you have to give additional message saying that always respond in JSON format, and in the message itself you need to pass some sample JSON format and ask to respond in that format. Then we might even have to do some post processing. For example, we need to use some regex pattern matching or some string manipulation to get the data in an expected format, or if the data is not in the right format, we might have to introduce some retry mechanism. The goal of structured output is obtain reliable and machine readable output directly from the model. In this section, we are going to build two small applications. One is going to be a resume categorizer. For that, we are going to use Json Schema, and another is going to be a stock price app, which is going to use function calling. And in the resume categorizer app, user has to give a candidate resume in a text format, and LLM would be able to read it and categorize it based on the candidate skill set. In the second example, user has to give a plain text. For example, what is the stock price of State Bank of India on maybe 10th December 2024? And model will read that text and create a JSON out of that user input. Using that JSON data, we will interact with a Yahoo Finance API and get the actual stock price. So these are going to be the two examples, and I'll just quickly show you the applications. So this is the candidate summary dashboard. Here we can give the candidate resume in text format. I will give resume of one candidate. So I'm giving it in this format: name David Kim, and he's a network engineer with 12 years of experience, and these are his skill sets. We can see here Juniper, Cisco iOS, Palo Alto, and he's even having knowledge on Python. And here we can see I have already added the resume of two candidates earlier, and we can see here it is categorizing based on the skill set. Let me just click on process resume, and here now it is saying that added or updated the new user, and this user is having, in the programming category, he is having Python knowledge, and under networking he's having all this knowledge. Then under monitoring, Zabbix, Datadog, and SolarWinds is there. You can check on this. So we have Zabbix, Datadog, and SolarWinds. So like this, if you enter any resume based on these categories, it would be able to identify the skill set. Let me just put one more resume here. I'll paste it and click on process resume. And now we have one more candidate, and this candidate is even having knowledge of Bash. So we can see here skills, under skills we have Bash. Then Ansible is coming under automation. Then under monitoring we have Prometheus, Grafana, and all. Like this, we'll be able to summarize the resume based on the skill set. And we can expand this, and so these are Streamlit features, like we can download even it in a CSV format. And in the next example, so here we can see one query: what was the price of LIC of India on 10th December 2024? And it is already giving the price. Instead of LIC of India, I can give State Bank of India, and we can see it is generating the ticker symbol. Ticker symbol is a unique code assigned to a publicly traded stock, and in India we have two stock exchanges, NSE and BSE. By default it is getting from NSE. If you want to get the BSE price, you can give BSE get stock price, and we can see here it has changed to BO. And this translation is doing using the JSON query structured output. So LLM is able to understand this question, and from there it is identifying the ticker symbol of the stock and giving us the date. And using this data, I'm interacting with Yahoo Finance and getting the actual stock price. Here even we can give it in different formats like SBI, NSE, stock price on 27th March 2025. So I'll just click on get stock price and we can see the price, and even the date also we can give it in different formats like 27 March 2025. So we're getting the data. So like this, if we give BSC, I'll be getting the data, and same like this, stock price of Apple Inc. on 27th March 2025. And here you can see it is even able to get the currency. It is in US dollars. So all this data we are getting from Yahoo Finance. So we will try to build these two apps using OpenAI structured output. Here I'm running these two apps from Google Colab. We can see here I'm using Streamlit and Local Tunnel for exposing this to internet. These are the two apps which are running. Now we'll go to the documentation of OpenAI. This is the documentation of OpenAI structured outputs. And before that, we'll take a look into the building. To follow along, you need an OpenAI API token. And for that, you need to add minimum $5 into your OpenAI credit balance. And the token usage billing is very less if you see my usage. I have used 56,000 tokens and the total billing was only $0.72. And even if you follow the entire course, it would charge you less than $1. And even if you're not planning to get an API token, I would still recommend watching this video because this will help you to understand some of the new enhancements happening in the generative AI and LLM space, and how the structured output using Json schema can make your application smarter and more reliable. And I'll open the documentation of Json schema. Here we can see when it comes to data exchange, Json schema stands out as a powerful standard for defining the structure and rule of JSON data. So JSON schema is like a blueprint for the JSON data the model must produce. Here, these are some of the benefits of using structured outputs. So reliable type safety, explicit refusal, simpler prompting. Here, we don't have to write validation codes or no need to pass complex instructions to enforce any formatting. We can just define it in this format. So under client.response.create, we need to first pass the model. Then in the input, we can give some instruction. We can set the context. Then under user, any text we can pass, and then under text we need to put the format of the response. So model will respond in this format, and here we will be able to see the supported models GPT-4o mini and then GPT-4o 2024 0806 and later. And here we can see an explanation on when to use structured output via function calling or JSON schema. If your application want to interact with external APIs, we can use function calling. And if you want to give the data directly to the user, we can use JSON schema. In our example, for the candidate resume categorizer app, we have used JSON schema, and for the stock price app, we have used function calling. So we'll see a comparison between these two. In JSON schema, we'll be giving under format, we'll be giving type as JSON underscore schema, and in function calling, type is going to be function. And use cases are when you want to format response to user. When the model is responding directly to the user, we can use JSON schema. And when you want model to interact with external tools, functions or APIs, we can use function calling. In our case, example is get candidate resume data from user, then categorize the skill set and create a JSON. So here we were just directly giving the data to user, and Streamlit app was converting that dictionary into a table format. Now in the function calling, user will be giving an instruction to the model. In our case, we are giving an instruction saying that what was the stock price of State Bank of India on particular date. Then model generates a JSON from the query, and using that JSON we are interacting with Yahoo Finance and gets the stock price. And this is one example of JSON schema. Here we need to give type as JSON underscore schema. Then under the properties we can see we need to give name. Under properties we can see we are trying to fetch name, years of experience, skills, and under skills we are giving the type as array, because under skills it will be creating the list of skills. Actually in the resume categorizer we are making two LLM calls. One, first to summarize the input with username, the candidate name, years of experience and skills, a list of skills, and then we are categorizing skills based on separate domains like automation, programming, etc. Now there are some tips for effective JSON schemas. To maximize the quality of structured output, use clear and intuitive key names. For example, here when we are passing the input, let me just show you one input. Here we are giving input in this format. For model to understand, it has to fetch the candidate name and put it into dictionary. It is best practice to give name or candidate name here, then years of experience, then skills, so that it will be able to fetch the data accordingly. So choose name that accurately reflects the data they represent and make the schema easier for both humans and AI to understand. Then add title and description. Here we're just giving the name, that is enough because it is explanatory. In the next example, that stock price, we will be even giving the ticker symbol examples to the model using description. Then iterate and evaluate. Don't assume your first schema design is perfect. Test different structures and determine which schema consistently provides best and most reliable result. Now let's start coding. I have already created a notebook here, 031 resume categorizer. And first we'll check the Python packages available. I'll give pip list. So we can see OpenAI is already available, so we don't have to install that. And we need to use the OpenAI API key, so I'll add the code for that. Let me just clear this. I'll copy this, put it here. Now we'll import OpenAI. So I'll give from OpenAI import OpenAI. So we'll try running these two blocks. So it is asking the permission to access the secrets. I'll give grant access. And we can see it got enabled. And here we will create the client. Now, if you want to test whether the API key is working or not, we can just create a variable response equal to client dot responses dot create. That model is a mandatory parameter. I'll give GPT 3.5. Then I'll give input equal to which LLM model are you using. Then we can just try printing response dot output text. So we'll try running this. So it is responding that it is OpenAI's GPT-3. So instead of this, I'll change this to GPT 4o-mini. So it is saying GPT-4 architecture. So in this way, we can test whether our API code is working or not. We can just comment this. We'll copy these two. Here we will try to create a function called process resume and update JSON. And just add the data. So we'll just create a function called process resume and update JSON. So from the resume, we need to extract the data. So I'll just create a variable called extract underscore response equal to line dot responses dot create. Under model, we need to give 4o, then 2024 08-06. In the documentation, we have seen that earlier. It supports from this version. Under input, I'll give a list. Then here I'll add the system message and user message. So here the system message is going to be extract the candidate's name, years of experience as a number, and list of skills mentioned in the following resume text. So now model will understand, okay, this is a resume input and it has to extract these data. After input, we need to create another parameter text equal to, then I'll give format, and here the type is going to be JSON schema, and then we can give a name. I will call this resume summary extraction. Then we need to create a schema. Inside that, we need to give type object. Then we need to define the properties. So under properties, we have to give what are the details we need. So here previously I have written this code, so it is remembering that, and it is saying that, okay, name, and for the candidate name, type is going to be a string, and for years of experience, it is going to be a number, and for the skills, it is going to be a list. Let me just add that data. Now what I'll do here, for our local execution and testing, I'll just create if underscore underscore name. Here I'll add one candidate resume. So let me just copy the content. I'll paste it here. So this is, I'm just calling this C1. Here after properties, we need to give required, then we'll give additional properties false, and here I'll give strict true, and we need to delete this bracket. Now here I'll create a variable extracted output equal to, and we need to import even JSON here, import JSON dot loads, then from extract response dot output text. For now, what we'll do, we'll just try to do a print of it, print extracted output. Let me just delete this, and under this we will just create a variable called result equal to the function, the process resume and update JSON, and we'll just try to run it. So let us just try running this. We need to add comma here. So I'll run it again. Now you can see here in the response, we're getting the name, years of experience, and skills. So same like this, I can even change this to candidate name. I'll copy this, put it here, and we'll try running again. So now it is changing to candidate name. And so this should be understandable by AI. But if we give some other name, it might not be able to relate it. And we are getting the candidate name years of experience and skills. Now we need to write one more query for categorizing this entire skill set. So let us start writing that, and I'll just revert this to name itself. And below this, I'll add one more query. I'll add a description here. Categorizing the skill set. And I'll call this category response, and model is going to be the same model. I'll add the input here. And here, if you notice, we are just converting this into string. And before even calling this, we'll check the format of this data. Print extracted output and print type of extracted output. We'll run it again. For now, we'll just comment this and run it again. And here we can see it is a dictionary. But when we are making a call, we need to pass it as a normal string. For that, instead of loads, what we'll do, we'll just directly create it as a string. Now let us just try running this. So now we can see it is just a plain string data. It is no more a dictionary. So we'll try to use the string here and comment this. And now we don't need to do dumps, json.dumps. So we can just directly pass the data here. After the input, we need to pass the text. I'll just copy paste the text here. Okay, so here what we are doing, we are just passing this text and asking LLM to categorize the given skill into programming, cloud, DevOps, networking, automation, all these categories. Then return candidate's name, years of experience, and categorized skills. Then under properties, we are giving name, years of experience, then all these skill set categories. And under this, I'm giving everything as required. Here I'll create a final output variable, final output equal to, then here we need to convert this into JSON, json.loads, then category response dot output text. Now we'll try running this. Sorry, here earlier the auto completion has added chat dot completions. So here we need to give responses dot create. So let us try running this. Now if you notice, it is even categorizing that name, years of experience, then for individual skill sets it is creating the categories. Now we'll try adding the resume of another candidate. I'll call this C2. And let us give C2 here, run it. And this candidate is having cloud, AWS and Azure knowledge, then DevOps, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, and it is able to categorize the skill set. In the next video, we'll see how to create a candidate's summary.json file and add all these candidates data into that JSON file and check whether there is any duplicate entry exist. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.